Hello, welcome to Yoga with Kat Harmon. I am Kat Harmon. I will be your guide today for our class. We're going to be doing a little flow for low back pain. It will be slow and relaxing, and we'll talk about a couple things to strengthen our front and back core to protect our spine and help us live a long and happy, pain-free life, hopefully. So let's join in a child's pose. Bring those big toes together, knees apart. Reach your fingertips to the top of your mat as you begin to settle into your bodies. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Exhale it out of the mouth as you just relax into this space. Noticing the shoulders as they peel down the back. Getting heavier and heavier with each breath. Relaxing the space behind the back of the neck. Feel it get a little bit longer, a little softer. Noticing the rise and the fall of your breath as you begin to move towards more of an Ujjayi breath. And all that is an audible breath, breathing in through the nose and out through the nose with that slight constriction at the back of the throat. Scanning through the body, noticing how it feels today before you start to move. And paying attention to places that you're feeling a little tight, a little achy, a little sore. Noticing the places that are feeling good as we begin to open the shoulders and the hips. They may be moving towards an intention for practice today, just finding something positive, something you may need a little bit more of today or in your life in general, and begin to bring that towards you with your breath. As you inhale, it just begins to fill you up. As you exhale, it extends out through the body. I'm just holding on to that intention as we start to move throughout practice. On your next inhale, walk the hands to the right side of your mat, lengthening out through the left side body. Reaching through those fingertips as you melt back through the left hip. Walking hands through center, we'll start to make our way over to the other side. Lots of length. Reaching through those fingertips, melting back through the hip. Inhaling, hands back to center. Taking one final breath in this child's pose, just really holding on to that intention for today. Holding on to that big, slow breath. And we'll start to rise up into a neutral tabletop. As you begin to move into this space, start to stack the shoulders over the wrist, hips over the knees, lifting and activating the belly button towards the spine. Grow long. Shoulders are down the back. Crown of the head is reaching forward. If this is bothering your knees, you can slide a blanket underneath your knees or even tuck the toes here. Inhale, begin to move into a cow spine. Open the shoulders. Exhale, start to curl up into cat. Really drop the chin towards the chest. Moving with your breath, we continue to roll through the spine. Keep lifting that belly button up and in as you transition into those cats and cows. So not forcing anything to happen here, just beginning to warm up, beginning to wake up. Moving towards your final round of cats and cows. We'll come back to center here. Beginning to look back towards that left hip. Start to make a C shape out of the side body. Really pressing into those hands so you're not dumping into the shoulders. Coming back to center and over to the right. And coming back to center. Staying strong in the arms, the belly, and the legs, we'll move into a spinal balance. Reach your right hand forward. Your left foot straight back. So if you're not quite ready to take that foot off of the ground, that's okay. Keep the hips nice and square. If you'd like to extend out, make sure that the belly is still actively pulling up. The ribs are still pulling in, so the front and back core are nice and strong. Finding the other side, we'll start to ground down. Just shift that weight over. Press into that left arm. Right hand reaches forward, and then that right foot might stay on the ground or extend out. Really lengthening long through the body, reaching through the top of the head, reaching through that back heel. Coming back into our tabletop. Let's take a little cat and cow. Inhale to open up. Exhale, curling in. Coming back into a spinal balance. Right hand will reach forward, left foot straight back. Finding that inner rotation of the thighs. And then on exhale, we're just going to curl it under, tap the elbow to the knee. Slow and controlled movement. We press out of that left hand. Inhale, lengthen out. Let's do 2 more just like that. Exhale, curl it under. Slow and controlled, lifting through the front core. Extending out as we engage through both sides here. Last one. Coming back into this tabletop. Take a little bit of movement. Cats and cows are fine. You can also circle through the hips, circle through the head, just kind of releasing any tension that's building up. I'll move over to the other side. Left hand reaches forward. Right foot extends back long. Maybe begins to hover. And exhale, we curl it under. Slowly pull in. Inhale, extend long. So if you're wobbling here, you're finding that you're really having to engage, that's great. Take your time, slowly moving through the movement so we can continue to build all these little stabilizer muscles. Keep pressing out of that right hand so we're not dumping into the shoulder. We'll find our final round here. Exhale, curl it under. And extending long. Coming back into our tabletop, let's do a little bit of movement. Shake that out. We're going to find a puppy pose, which is a little bit deeper than a child's pose. You're going to start to walk those hands forward. Just gently mount the chest down towards the mat. You may need a block for the head here. We're really starting to open up underneath the shoulders, but our belly button is fastening tightly to our ribs. Keep sliding those shoulders back and down the spine as you lengthen out. Slowly making our way back up into our tabletop. We're going to move into a modified plank pose. So pretty much our tabletop, we start to walk the hands forward as we keep the spine nice and long. So lifting through the belly button, pressing through the hands. Starting to see a pattern here, right? So keep the front and back core active at all times. Staying in this modified plank, you're starting to lift the knees. Just an option. So we're pressing into the hands. We're trying to grow out of our arms so that our shoulders are nice and engaged here. Belly button is pulling towards the spine, whether you're in the modified version or the extended version. You're still active in the core. Next move, we're going to take us downward facing dog. So to lift those hips up and back, melting the chest towards the thighs. Keep pressing the chest back as you lift up through the belly, bending one knee and then the other. We start to walk this dog out. If down dog is not for you today, come back into that tabletop, take a few more rounds of cat and cow. Keep pressing back through those shoulders, lifting up through the core. We'll come towards stillness in this down dog. On an inhale, Rise high up onto the tippy toes, look between your hands, make your way up to a forward fold. So you can take a couple of steps, one big step, or a giant hop all the way up. Inhale, halfway lift and lengthen. Let's pause here. Find that same space that you were in your tabletop. So lift up through the belly, pull back the shoulders, close the ribs, and then lengthen out the crown of the head away from the tailbone. So nice and long, active spine. Knees can still be bent here if the hamstrings are quite tight. On an exhale fold, let's go ahead and bend the knees. Inhale, halfway lift and lengthen. Find that long, active spine. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise all the way up to a tall mountain. So ground down through those feet as you sweep the hands to the sky. Tuck the tailbone, lift the belly, pull the ribs in, then lengthen up. Exhale, start to fold. Let's lengthen out away from the tailbone. Drop the head. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Separate your feet just a little bit more. Remember, knees can be bent. Grab opposite elbows for a ragdoll arm bind. Let the head hang heavy. And just sway side to side. Always belly button is pulling up, active towards the spine, keeping us nice and safe here. And we'll gently release that bind. Coming back to an inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Moving into a right runner's lunge. So your left foot will lengthen out to the back of your mat. You can take a couple steps or find one big step, nice and long, lengthen out. Pulling the left hip forward, slide the right hip back so they're even with one another, and then engage up through the belly button. Now start to sink into the stretch. That way we're moving from a place of strength as we move towards flexibility. Shoulders are down the back. Crown of the head nice and long. Back knee will start to come down to the mat. Remember, you can always slide a blanket underneath that back knee. Keep pressing into the top of that back foot as you start to walk your hands up the right thigh. So now we're staying engaged in our belly, lifting up, growing out of our low back, then the shoulders pull back and down. Lots of work here, so you're not just hanging out, you're pulling forward through this hip, you're lifting up through your belly, the shoulders are pulling down the back. Breathing into this sensation as we start to open up that hip flexor. Then one hand comes on each side of that right foot as we shift back into a split prep. Starting to straighten that front leg. Left knee is right underneath that left hip. Right hip is right even with the right hip. You may need blocks here just to bring the ground a little bit closer to you so you can keep those hips nice and square. If not, hands are to the mat. And you're breathing into the sensation along the back side of that hamstring. Let's inhale, lengthen a little bit longer. Exhale, fold as the top of the head moves towards the top of that right foot, which is nice and flexed and active. Breathing into that hamstring. So as we find this place in our hips and this length behind the back of that right knee, we're also working into our spine. So make sure that the belly button is pulling up and in. Let's lengthen again. Inhale. Exhale, fold a little deeper. So breathe. Starting to take the toes in towards center. Back up towards the ceiling. Long neck, turn those toes out to the right. Don't let the shoulders come by the ears. And back to center. One more round, turn those toes in. And back up. And toes out. And back up to center. So moving into a little bit of a twist here. We're going to keep our left hand down to the earth or your block. Right hand starts to reach to the sky. Now keep those hips even with one another as you start to grow long. Right hip is sliding back. That foot is still flexed. Now press into the grounded hand and reach the top hand, growing a little bit longer. Exhale, our top hand comes back to the mat. We're going to shift forward into an active lizard lunge. So heel toe that foot over to the right, bring the hands on the inside, tuck the back toes, and lift that knee. So squeezing hips square again, right? So left hip is moving forward, right hip is moving back, pressing into our arms nice and strong here first. Back knee starts to come back down to the mat. Maybe we have a little bit more space than we did before we started. Keep sliding the left hip forward as you press into the top of that back foot. Now pull the chest through. Try to open up the shoulders, sliding them back and down. If you notice that your right knee starts to splay out to the side, come to the outer blade of that right foot. You can really let it open up here. Keep pulling up through the belly. It's really easy to dump into your low back in these low lunges, so I'm going to keep talking about your core, keep reminding you till it becomes a nice habit. Start squeezing that right knee back in towards center. And let's come down into more of a passive lizard. So forearms can come down. Maybe you just drop the head, or you can also take forearms to your block. Thinking about relaxing through the back of the neck here as we fold down. We're still engaging through our core. Our shoulders are just starting to relax. Coming back up into your hands if you have folded. We'll walk that foot for a runner's lunge back in between your hands. Taking another little twist from here, left hand stays down to the earth or your block as the right arm reaches to the sky. So pressing into the bottom hand, reaching up to the top, belly pulls in, and then we melt the hips down a little deeper. Flexing that back foot, I want you to start to pull the heel towards the bum and release it back down to the mat. Keep pressing into that left arm, pull the heel towards the bum and slowly lower down. We got 3 more just like that, slow and controlled. Pressing into your mat and back down. 2 more. Belly is engaged. Last one. Hold here, reach back with that top hand. You may be able to grab hold of that ankle. If not, just breathe right here. It's a great space to be. If you grab hold of that ankle, start to pull the chest back towards the front of the room. Lifting through the core, pressing into that left arm. Gently release that foot. We're going to shift back into a split prep, hands to blocks or the mat. Just for a moment, inhale, lengthen. Exhale, fold. So we're coming right back into that hamstring, releasing the low back from all those lunges. Shifting the weight forward into our active runner's lunge. Tuck the back toes. Step up to the top of your mat, forward fold. So use that core, one big step or a few little steps. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up, tall mountain. Do a little shoulder stretch here as the right hand grabs the left wrist. Pull to the right for a side body stretch. But think about pressing the hips forward, lifting through the belly as you start to dip down. Take the chin down towards the ceiling and then up towards, down towards the floor, excuse me, and then up towards the ceiling. One more time, take the chin down towards the floor. That'll make more sense. And back up towards the ceiling. Coming back to center, switch that grip. Let's exhale over to the left, so grow long as you start to take this side body stretch. Belly is engaged, and then we start to take the chin down towards the floor and lift it up towards the ceiling. One more down towards the floor and up towards the ceiling. Good, coming back to center, release that grip. Drop those hands down by the sides for a moment. Just bring the shoulders up and back, rolling them up and back. Let's reverse that, roll them back and forward. Last one, back and forward. Just standing here for a moment. Notice how the spine is. Tailbone should be moving down towards the back of the knees. Belly should be lifting up. Ribs are pulling in, shoulders are pulling down. So nice, strong spine here. Inhale, sweeps the hands up. Exhale, forward fold. Try to go long, belly lifts. Inhale, halfway lift and lengthen. Exhale, fold. We're going to make our way into a tabletop. So reach that right foot to the back, left foot to the back, and then ground down through the knees, stacking through the joints once again. On an inhale, right hand is going to reach to the sky and start to roll through that shoulder one direction and then the other. Just moving through that shoulder joint in ways that feel good in your body. On an exhale, we're going to start to thread the needle. Come on top of that right shoulder, walking left fingertips overhead. So it's almost like we're rolling onto the back of our head here, but keeping a nice long neck. Staying in this shoulder stretch, or if you want to add a little bit more, you can start to take the left foot out to meet the right hand. And you're able to maybe even put peace fingers around the right big toe as you start to roll a little bit more onto the back of the neck. And of course, if you have any other versions of this posture that you like, please take them here. Breathing into this twist could feel a little difficult, so pull that belly button in towards the spine. Try to lengthen out the upper body. And breathe big into the space behind the shoulder blades. Last breath. Using your left hand, slowly press your way out of this. Reaching the right arm all the way back up to the sky. Big inhale. And then ground it back down. Let's take a little cat and cow. Inhale to open up. Exhale to curl up and in. Then moving towards the other side, our left arm starts to reach up to the sky. Let's find some movement one direction and then the other, rolling through that joint. Big breath. And then we'll find this side. The left arm starts to come underneath, threading that needle. Right hand reaches overhead. Maybe that foot begins to come out to the side. I'm a little close to my wall here. There we go. And you start to settle in. So just noticing the difference between your sides throughout this class. Like maybe you're holding on to tension a little bit more on one side than the other. You may notice that you are tighter in one hamstring or tighter in one shoulder or one hip. Just becoming aware of that. And then maybe starting to notice how that is affecting your day-to-day life. Like maybe you constantly are putting all your weight on your right foot. Maybe you're using your right arm way more. And you can start to bring balance into your life and into your body and starting to repair some of these things that are causing you discomfort. Right hand comes back to the mat. Gently unwind. Left arm reaches to the sky. Big breath. And ground it back down. Take another round of cat and cow. We'll start to make our way back to our downward facing dog. Take your time. Tucking the toes, lift those hips up and back. Notice how the right side feels compared to the left, because we've already done everything on the right side. Pull those shoulders back and down. Inhale high up onto the tippy toes. Step, walk, or hop, forward fold, top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift and lengthen. Exhale, fold. Inhale, rise up, tall mountain. Exhale, hands to heart center. Nice long neck. Sweep the hands up, inhale. Exhale, fold, empty it out. One more inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. Moving into our left runner's lunge. Our right foot reaches to the back of the mat. Left knee stacking right on top of that ankle. Lengthen out. Slide that right hip forward just a little bit as you lift through the belly so we can really find strength in this pose first. Long necks as we breathe. Then our back knee starts to come down. We move into a modified crescent lunge. Hands are going to crawl up the thigh for this version. Right hip is pulling forward, left hip is pulling down. Lifting up through that belly, pressing into the top of that back foot. See if you can relax your shoulders as you squeeze a little bit more into that belly. Moving into our split prep with your blocks or maybe hands to the mat. Straighten that front leg. Squaring hips, left hip back even with the right. Lengthen out and then fold over that left leg. Foot is nice and flexed. Shoulders are away from the ears, neck is nice and long. We're just breathing into this space. Trying to extend out behind that left knee as you shoot energy out through your heel. Inhale, lengthen a little bit. Exhale, fold a little deeper. Next inhale, we'll halfway lift and lengthen. And then we'll take our little twist here. Right hand comes to your block or the mat as the left arm starts to reach up to the sky, keeping the hips nice and square. Press into that grounded hand as you lengthen up through fingertips. Heart is moving away from the tailbone. Foot is nice and flexed. Exhale, top hand comes down. Let's start to shift our weight forward into that active lizard lunge. Heel toe the foot over to the left. Hands come on the inside. Heart and eyes reach forward as we lift that back knee. So press into the arms, become strong in the shoulders. Slide that left hip forward just a little bit. Lift through the belly and then melt through the hips. So it's nice and strong as we move towards flexibility. Back knee comes down. Opening up through the shoulders, starting to lift that belly button. Pull the heart forward, press into the top of that back foot, sliding hips towards one another. Maybe that left knee likes to come out to the side a little bit, but keep the foot nice and flexed. Breathe into this space, don't hold your breath. Relax your neck. Pulling that knee back in if it's out to the side as we start to make this more of a passive stretch. Begin to fold over, letting go of the back of the head, the back of the neck, maybe coming down to forearms or forearms to a block. But we're still staying strong in that back leg. So the back leg is pressing into the mat, right hip is pulling forward, belly is up and in. The only thing that's relaxing here is our shoulders, back of our head, and our neck. Last breath here. Starting to come up into the hands. We'll move back into a runner's lunge. So the foot comes back in between the hands. One hand on each side, hips are square. And we'll start to take another twist here. Right hand is down, left hand is to the sky. Try not to dump into that right shoulder as you lift and grow tall. Squeezing inner thighs towards one another, pressing the ground away from you. We'll start to flex that heel, pull it towards the bum, and release it down. 4 more rounds, breathing big. Core is engaged. Moving towards your final round. Reach that top hand back for that foot or ankle. We're still pressing the ground away from us with the right hand. Maybe you can pull that heel towards the bum. If not, just hold and breathe. Wherever you are today, know that that's okay. Your flexibility changes. Your body changes. Try to be okay with where you are in this moment. We'll gently release that foot down, sliding back into a final split prep here. Really lengthening out of our low back, fold it down. Toes start to move in towards the right. Back up to center and out towards the left. Back up to center and to the right. Back up to center and to the left. Inhale will bring us forward back into an active runner's lunge as we step up to the top of our mat, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift and lengthen. Exhale, fold. Taking a little IT band twist here. Left knee is going to bend. Right hand reaches to the sky. Remember, you can always have that hand on the block as well. If you don't have a block, you can grab hold of the shin here. Exhale, fold it down. Inhale, halfway lift and lengthen. Exhale, fold. Bend that right knee. Left hand lifts to the sky this time. So we're reaching heart away from the tailbone. Exhaling, top hand comes back down to the mat. Take an inhale, halfway lift, pulling the twist out of the spine. Exhale, fold. Let's begin to bend the knees so much so that you come into a little toe squat here. Hands can stay to the earth, blocks, or maybe they start to come up to the knees. Even beginning to move to heart center. Just working on a little bit of balance here. So we're squeezing inner thighs together, pulling in through the belly. Shoulders are back and down. Moving back into our forward fold. Hands come to the mat. Lift those hips to the sky. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Start to walk those feet out. Finding Malasana Yogi squat. So toes are out, heels are in as we begin to have a seat. Knees and toes in the same direction here. So use those elbows to press the knees open and wide. As you drop the tailbone down, crown of the head shines to the ceiling. Hands come back to the mat. Lift those hips to the sky. Heel toeing the feet back towards one another. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. One last time, rise tall, mountain. Reach those hands to the sky. Taking a ragdoll overhead. So grabbing opposite elbows, realign through the spine. Tailbone down, belly lifts, ribs in, chin lifts. Take those elbows to the right. Lengthen up. Inhale back to center, switch that grip. Exhale over to the left. Keep that spine nice and in line. And back to center. Inhale, reaches our hands to the sky. Exhale, fold, empty out all of that breath. Inhale, halfway. Exhale, fold. We're moving back into our toe squat. Then we'll just have a seat on our bums. You can get there however you like. You want to keep working towards core strength. You're going to start to reach those hips back and then lift those heels up. Breathing into this boat pose. Shoulders are back and down. Legs can be straight if you like. Hands can also be behind the thighs. And if you need it, toes can be on the mat. But we're really leaning back, lifting up through our core. Long neck. Heart is shining. And release it down. Bringing the feet together, knees apart, bound angle. Go ahead and start bouncing those knees just a little bit as we start to release some tension in our hips. Inhale, sitting nice and tall. Exhale, we'll start to fold forward. Finding length through the spine till you get to a certain area and then just start to soften into this stretch. So you're really pulling out of the low back first and then folding down. Inhale will bring us up nice and tall. Keeping the feet just how they are, except we're going to slide them far away from us for a wide-legged diamond pose. So you're going to glance down, see that little diamond shape. Inhale, lengthen out the lowest part of your back. So try to be really long there. And by doing that, we're lifting up through our core as well. Lengthen until you can't go any further. You'll find that little wall. It'll be like, you can't go anymore. Then start to grow from your shoulders and the top of your head as you soften into this space. Letting the head be heavy, you can also lay your head or your chest on a block as well, or a bolster. If you don't have any of that stuff, pillows are fine as well. Just allowing yourself to surrender into this space as we're, hi kitty, as we're lengthening out our low back. Letting go of tension in the back of the neck. Letting go of tension in between the shoulder blades. Inhale will start to rise us up nice and tall. This is Peanut, by the way. He's super sweet. Then we're going to plant our feet. I have to remove your pillow, kitty. And windshield wiper the knees side to side. So just a little bit of movement here. Since we're right here anyways, we're going to find a reverse tabletop. Taking your fingertips towards the bum. If your shoulders are quite tight, fingertips can go out to the side. As we press up, I want you to think about keeping the belly button to the spine and then spreading the shoulder blades apart. The heads of the shoulders, excuse me, as you lift those hips up to the sky, maybe even squeezing the inner thighs towards one another. Head can go back, or maybe the chin stays to the chest, whatever you're working towards today. And then exhale slowly brings us back down. Woo, and cross those legs. Let's just give ourselves a nice little squeeze here. Taking the elbows to the right and to the left. Reverse that little hold. Take the elbows to the left and then to the right. Coming back towards center, release all that. We're going to make our way onto our backs, moving towards reclined pigeon pose. If you need to take another version of pigeon, please do. But we'll start to cross that right leg over the left, like you're kind of reading the newspaper. That left ankle should be all the way on the outside of, what did I say? Your right ankle should be all the way on the outside of that left knee so that you can make a full circle rotation here. You start to lift the leg up, threading the arms behind that left hamstring. You start to pull that knee towards you as you start to get a nice stretch in that right bum. So different variations from here. If you need a little bit more, you can take the right hand and press the left knee away from you as you continue to pull the left thigh towards you. So breathing into this space. Think about keeping your sacrum flat on the mat, keeping your shoulders flat on the mat, and keeping your neck nice and long. Last 2 breaths here. Big, full, soft breaths. And as you're finishing that final breath, start to extend the left leg long as we keep hold of that right knee. Just going to gently take a little spinal twist here, keeping that knee as high as you can, and allowing it to fall heavy to the mat. Right arm is going to reach as we lengthen, trying to flatten it back out as well. Breathe in. Exhale out of the mouth. It's allowing yourself to get a little heavier. You might have had a little spinal adjustment. We'll come back to center. Give that right knee a nice squeeze. And let it go. Let's start to find the other side. Reclined pigeon. Left leg crosses up and over. Getting to that version that you just took on the other side, unless there's quite a difference on your two sides. You start to settle into that hip stretch. So low back, flat on the mat. Shoulders relaxed, back and down, neck nice and long. So you don't want to be all crunched up, forcing anything to happen here. We're just allowing our hips to open up. Last 2 breaths. And we'll keep hold of this left leg. So extend the right leg long down the mat, beginning to move into our spinal twist. Left knee comes up and over as that right arm reaches, trying to flatten back that shoulder down to the mat. Big breath in. Exhale out of the mouth. And we'll start to bring our way back to center. Giving that leg a nice squeeze. And then planting both of those feet, we're going to move towards a back bend. So option for you, if you don't have a block, you can take an active back bend here, a bridge, fish, or wheel of your choice. I'm going to talk you through bridge, but I'm also going to offer you the restorative version if you do have a block or something you can prop your hips up on. So you're going to take the fingertips down towards the heels. Feet are about hip distance apart. Begin to press into the feet as you lift those hips up to the sky. So that's your active bridge here. You can play with a couple of different arm variations from that space. If you are moving into the restorative version, we're going to take our block and slide it underneath our sacrum, which is that flat bony part right above the tailbone. Kind of can really ground it down onto that block. You can feel those hips even out, and then let the arms go heavy and the legs go heavy. Just use this as more of a restorative posture. And you can place your block at any level, but it doesn't need to be uncomfortable, right? Because we're trying to just realign our low back, letting our sacrum just spread back out, our hips kind of fall into place. If you're still in that active back bend, make sure you're breathing. Neck is nice and long. If you're in the active back bend, go ahead and come down to the mat. Allow your spine to settle. Then press back up for one final active back bend. 4 big rounds of breath for everyone here. Breathe in. Final breath in. As you exhale, we're going to gently make our way back down to our back. So removing that block if you have it there, and just allowing the hips to find a still space for one whole breath. Then bring the feet together, knees apart. One hand to your heart, one hand to your belly. If those legs aren't quite comfortable for you today, then take the feet apart and knees to touch. Just notice this vibration, this energy that you've created throughout this practice today. Take a moment to be grateful for this body that you have. And take a moment to be grateful that you took time for yourself today, for some self-care and some self-love. Starting to move into our inversion. If you'd like to take happy baby, grab the outer blades of the feet, put the hands on the outside blades of the feet and the arms are on the inside so that the knees can be nice and open. Knees are moving towards the ground. Feet, bottom of the feet are moving towards the ceiling. So you're in this nice 90-degree angle here. Trying to keep your low back flat on the mat and your shoulders open and relaxed. The neck nice and long. Staying in happy baby, or begin to make your way into a hip stand. And all that is just sending the legs straight to the sky. If your hamstrings are tight, you can have a little softness in the knees here. Or maybe pressing and extending out through those legs. Trying to keep a nice 90-degree angle wherever you are, even if the legs are bent. Another little restorative move we can do is take our hands and lift them up to the sky as well, keeping our shoulder girdle flat on the mat. Wherever you are in your inversion, we're going to take 2 final breaths. So just taking it wherever you like, these last 2 breaths. Exhale slowly brings us back down. Allow those feet or those legs to come heavy to the mat. Just take a moment in stillness. Let the body settle. Planting the feet again like you're moving into bridge pose. So hips distance apart or a little bit wider. Glue the feet down to the mat right where you are. Take the arms out wide. And just allow the knees to fall to one side. So you can kind of adjust the feet a little bit if that left foot's getting a little funky. But think about from here that you're sending that left knee straight down and the right knee is just opening up to the side. So really lengthening out this left hip. You might even be feeling this in your low back. If you need to add a little bit, you can take your right foot and place it on top of that left knee, but it starts to feel forced or uncomfortable, then let's not move there. This is more of a restorative twist for our spine. Knees start to make their way back to center, back into that bridge pose for a breath. And over to the other side. So let those legs fall heavy. Right knee is pressing down and away from you. Upper body nice and heavy and long. Making our way back to center. Giving yourself a nice tight squeeze. And taking any final movement that you need to take to complete your practice today before you begin to release out into your Shavasana. Just allowing the legs to fall heavy to the edges of the mat. Arms away from the sides, taking up space. If it's not super comfortable for you to lay on your back, feel free to lay on your side or your belly. Just getting to this place where you can kind of shut down for a minute, allowing your body and your mind to rest and heal. We'll take a big cleansing breath here. Exhale out of the mouth. And just relax. Starting to come back to your breath. Finding some subtle movements in the fingers and the toes as you slowly begin to wake up the body. If it feels good, reach arms overhead, lengthen out. And then stay here or make your way onto your favorite side. You curl up. We'll just take a moment to breathe in our practice. Scanning through the body, noticing how you feel since you began to move today. Then drawing your attention towards your mind and how you're feeling since we began to practice. When you're ready, start to press your way up into an easy seated position, bringing the hands to heart center and the forehead towards the fingertips. Taking a final cleansing breath with me today as you let go of any negative thoughts or negative energy that might have come up during your practice today or that have already been a part of your day. Let's take a big breath in and let it go. Super grateful you allowed me to guide you through your practice today. As always, I hope that you feel better in your bodies and in your minds. Bringing the thumbs to the forehead, we honor one another. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope that you feel better, as I said, in your body and in your minds. If you have any questions or anything that you would like for me to offer in this series, reach out and find me on Facebook or Instagram. It's Cat Harmon, Cat with a K. Just find me and look forward to it. So enjoy your day.